I recently recorded a podcast with Patrick Peterson at the University of Minnesota. We talked about symmetry and asymmetry. As humans, we like things that are symmetrical. I think he was referencing a study where people see members of the opposite sex as more attractive if their face is more symmetrical. So I think we've taken this into movement and said that we should have very symmetrical type movement, and we take photos of symmetrical movement, videos, still shots, whatever. But when you look at something like dunking a basketball, especially if you're one leg jumper, but I'm a two leg jumper, there is a ton of asymmetry going on. Let's take something like the training to enhance dunking ability. You could stand there and jump on a box. Yep. And as you can see, this is very symmetrical. The arms, legs, knees, everything is kind of working together on both sides. I mean, there's a little bit of asymmetry, but it's pretty minor. And then take an approach box jump. And there's a ton of asymmetry. Like one of the pelvis is higher, or the hip bones is higher. One of the knees is a little bit more in than the other one. You're kind of, the feet, one of them is turned a little bit. This is if you're good at actually doing approach jumping, doing dunking. You'll see a pretty significant asymmetry. So in the weight room, I think if you're someone who's like a meathead and only lifting in a very symmetrical bilateral type patterns, you should do things like approach box jumps. Maybe hurdle hops where one foot is more in front than the other one. Things that are asymmetrical because for some reason we think symmetry is so good. But look at all of the best athletes and they're not. Another example was Michael Vick. I had read a synopsis kind of that he's like running off of one leg, it looks like, but he has a pretty significant asymmetry. Now sure, he has the ball in one hand too. But the point is, symmetry is not everything, and the more you do bilateral back squats with perfect symmetry, the more you do bilateral deadlifts and all of these weight room exercises that we think help the transfer to sports so well, is it actually transferring that well if we are only doing these things and not embracing the asymmetry, an individual asymmetry of movement? So you do in hypertrophy cluster protocol, I have approach box jumps in there some weeks. You're doing a vertical jump protocol, we do approach box jumps, we build into them. We do these things that are asymmetrical, that you can use your natural ability, and they're going to look not as, I guess, sexy or good as the symmetrical things, but at the end of the day, I think your goal is to be a better athlete. Your goal is to dunk the basketball better. So these are asymmetrical things, so embrace it and use that in your training. I hope that made sense. Enjoy.